Captain Lena Reyes stood at the edge of the high glass balcony, her gaze fixed on the swirling colors of the nebula beyond the viewport. The Chrysalis orbital station hovered halfway between Earth and the Xyrillian home system, its smooth architecture glowing softly under distant starlight. It was the most important moment in human history, the first face-to-face meeting between humanity's envoy and the alien Princess Cervelis. Lena smoothed the creases in her dark uniform jacket and inhaled deeply. Beneath the calm surface of her ranks, her heart beat like a drum. The press of diplomatic officers and trade delegates formed a silent crowd behind her. They waited for the official welcome ceremony to begin. Some glanced nervously at one another. Others checked holopads as if rehearsing lines, but none could hide their wonder. For decades, humanity had read the legends of Cervelis, whose beauty and grace were said to rival the glow of pure starfire. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. The grand doors at the far end swung open with a low, hydraulic hiss. A shaft of pale blue light traced their edges, sealing shut behind whomever walked through. Lena tipped her head forward in a salute, though her voice caught in her throat. The princess emerged. Cervelis moved down the spiral ramp in measured steps. Her long hair, silver like moonlight on water, swayed with quiet elegance. Her gown seemed woven from living light, strands of bioluminescent fiber that pulsed gently with each breath. The gown's colors shifted from lavender to sapphire, casting soft, dancing patterns on the polished marble floor. Lena's memory registered every detail: the delicate curves of the princess's cheekbones, the slender arch of her neck, the graceful angle of her shoulders. But her eyes, those eyes were something else. They glowed with an inner radiance, a deep, melancholy swirl of violet and indigo that seemed to peer straight into the deepest corners of a person's soul. Diplomats murmured. A hush fell like mist. The official welcome banner floated above. The dais, "In unity we find light." The banner's letters shimmered in a dozen languages. Earth's major nations had all sent representatives. Commerce, science, and culture were at stake. Yet in that moment, all minds were fixed on the princess. Cervelis descended the last steps and stood before Lena. The princess's slender hand lifted, her gloved fingers brushing a hidden transmitter. The banner's glow softened until only the two women remained illuminated. Then Cervelis inclined her head, an elegant bow that sent a ripple of awe through the onlookers. She spoke in perfect galactic common, the trade language both species had agreed to use. Her voice was soft and melodious, like wind passing through crystal towers. "Captain Reyes," she said, "I have long awaited this day." Lena found her voice at last. "Your Highness," she replied, "it is an honor to welcome you to Chrysalis." Cervelis smiled, a small curve of her lips that made her eyes shine even brighter. "I come in peace and friendship," she said, "and with a question for you." Lena felt a ripple of curiosity mixed with apprehension. Every diplomat leaned forward. "Your question, Your Highness?" The princess raised one slender finger and tapped lightly on the collar of her gown. A tiny hollow projector blinked to life. In midair, golden strands of light wove a floating lattice of symbols, ancient Xyrillian script. The crowd gasped. No human scholar had mastered that language. Cervelis's eyes found Lena's. "Your birth name," she said, her voice a whisper that still carried across the hall, "was Lilana Maris." Lena froze. Her mind spun. Her birth name? Everyone knew her as Lena Reyes. Lilana Maris was a name she had not used in nearly 30 years. She had chosen Reyes when she joined the Earth Fleet Academy, eager to leave her childhood behind. Only her parents and her twin brother Marco had ever known the name Lilana Maris. A sudden hush fell over the assembly. Lena's cheeks warmed. She felt the eyes of the ambassadors, the officers, and the press corps on her. She glanced at the princess's calm face. Cervelis waited, her violet gaze steady and unblinking. Lena bowed her head, her long dark hair falling in front of her shoulders. She took a slow breath. You know that name?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Cervelis's lips curved in a gentle smile. I have searched many records, she said, and I have visited the ancient archives of Xyrelia myself. I found a single reference to Lilana Maris, an Earthchild who befriended a lost Xyrilian scout during your species' early exploration of space. Lena's heart lurched. This was not a myth, not a misunderstanding. The princess believed that when Lara was a small child, she had encountered a Xyrilian scout. No human record existed of such an encounter. And yet here was the princess, whose lineage rested on the stories passed down from that scout. Lena met Cervelis's gaze again. Behind them, the calculated coolness of diplomats cracked. Some whispered, old legend or secret mission. But most simply stared, trying to unravel this mystery. The ceremony's music paused. The ambassador from Earth's United Council stepped forward. Your Highness, he said, his voice shaking slightly. We had no knowledge of this story. Perhaps you could kindly share the details in private. Cervelis inclined her head. In private, yes, but first. She glanced at Lena again. I wish to speak privately with Captain Reyes. Gasps rose in the hall. Private talks between a princess and a captain were unheard of. The ambassador flushed. He opened his mouth, but Lena gave him a slight shake of her head. Slowly, she stepped forward. The princess motioned toward a side door draped in soft white curtains. Two silent Xyrilian guards slid aside the drapes. Beyond lay a garden pavilion, lit by bioluminescent vines and the soft glow of two large moons, simulated indoors. A gentle mist curled along the stone floor. It looked nothing like the cold formality of the ceremony hall. It looked like a place for truth and trust. With careful steps, Lena followed Cervelis into the pavilion. Diplomats and officers watched them go, the chamber doors closing behind the princess. Only the ambassador's whispered question drifted through the open door. What are you doing, Captain? But neither Lena nor Cervelis turned. In the half-light of the moonlit pavilion, their faces glowed with anticipation and unspoken stories. The fate of two worlds hung on a child's forgotten name and on the meeting that would follow. Lena stood in silence for a heartbeat, then swept back her hair and pulled a calm breath. Whatever came next, she would meet it. For if an alien princess knew her secret childhood name, then a secret too held the key to their shared destiny, and on Chrysalis Orbital, that secret was about to be unveiled. Captain Lena Reyes stepped into the moonlit pavilion and paused beneath the soft glow of bioluminescent vines. The air was cool and scented with sweet alien flowers she could not name. Cervelis stood at the center of a stone fountain, her silver hair drifting over her shoulders like silk. The princess's violet eyes shone with calm purpose. Lena's heart still pounded. She closed the heavy doors behind them. The gentle murmur of diplomats faded away. In the hush, only the quiet drip of water and the faint hum of the station's life support system remained. Lena folded her hands in front of her and forced her breath to steady. Cervelis motioned toward a curved bench beside the fountain. Please sit, she said softly. The princess's voice felt warm, like afternoon sunlight. Lena moved forward and took a seat, careful to smooth the folds of her uniform. Every movement felt unusual, as though measured under unseen eyes. Cervelis stood before Lena and studied her face. Your childhood name, she began, Lilana Maris, appears in a single Xyrilian record. It tells of a human child who saved the life of a young Xyrilian scout. That act became legend among my people. The princess paused, letting those words settle. Lena's mind raced back nearly 30 years. She was a small girl in her grandmother's garden in Santa Fe, New Mexico. A wounded creature with pale blue skin had hidden beneath the roses. Lilana had snuck outside at dusk to feed it broken, crackers and water from her cup. She had bandaged its tiny shoulder with strips of her own dress. The creature, her first true friend, had whispered its thanks in a language she barely understood, then vanished into the night sky. She had buried that memory deep. When she joined the Earth Fleet Academy, she chose a new name, new stories, She believed her childhood had ended with her parents' death. She believed no one else would care. Cervelis saw the flicker of pain in Lena's eyes. That scout told my ancestors of your kindness, a kindness that taught Xyrillians to trust humanity. The princess knelt by the fountain edge. She dipped a slender hand into the cool water. Small rings spread outward, reflecting the simulated moons. Lena swallowed. Her voice trembled. I was a child. No one knew. I never told anyone. She placed her hands on her knees. I never thought it mattered. But it did, Cervelis said, her gaze gentle and strong. That evening changed the path of our people. It led to the first contact accord. Without it, our species would not share the star lanes today. Lena's breath caught. She had studied those accords in the academy. She had fought battles to protect them. And now she realized her forgotten kindness had made all that possible. The weight of that truth pressed on her heart. Cervelis rose and stepped back. I wish to thank you personally, Lilana Maris. Her words brushed against Lena's soul like a soft breeze. And to ask you a question. Lena looked up, her brow furrowed. Any question, Your Highness? The princess held out a small device, no larger than a human palm. Its surface glowed with shifting symbols. Our healers cannot reverse the decay in Xyrilia's core crystal, Cervelis explained. We believe the same act of pure compassion that saved the scout may hold the key to renewal, but we need a human heart to guide our ritual. Lena's pulse quickened. She sensed the layers of meaning behind the request. A ritual, Lena repeated. You want me to take part? Cervelis nodded. Only one with true compassion can awaken the crystal, and that one is you. Lena's hands shook. She thought of her days commanding starships, charting unknown systems, negotiating treaties. She had comforted frightened refugees. She had saved lives by the hundreds. Yet here, in this quiet garden, the princess asked her to bring her childhood, kindness forward, to show that innocence and love endured. She swallowed hard. I will do what I can, she said. Her voice felt small in the vast pavilion. Cervelis closed her eyes and offered Lena a slight bow. Thank you, Lilana Maris. When she opened her eyes, a pale tear glimmered at the corner. I have seen many wonders on earth, but your heart is the greatest wonder of all. Lena studied the tear as it slid down the princess's cheek. She placed a comforting hand on Cervelis's wrist. The glow of the bioluminescent vines brightened for a moment, as if sensing the bond between them. They stood in silence. The station's distant hum faded further. Only the soft splash of the fountain broke the stillness. The princess guided Lena to the fountain's center stones, where carvings of ancient Xyrillian symbols formed a circle. These symbols tell of the memory bridge, Cervelis said. A place in spirit where your past and my people's past join. Tonight, we will cross that bridge together. Lena peered at the symbols. They looked like entwined stars and rivers of light. Simple shapes, but their meaning felt profound. She placed her hand on one of the carvings. A warmth spread through her fingers, climbing her arm, warming her chest. Cervelis mirrored her gesture. A soft glow rose from the symbols. The air around them shimmered like heat haze. Lights danced on the stone floor, forming concentric circles around the fountain's edge. Lena's breath caught in her throat. She felt herself slipping into a memory she had never truly released. She saw her grandmother's garden again, heard the soft whispers of the wounded scout. She saw herself holding that creature's hand, feeling its trust. She felt the fierce protective love she had as a child. Cervelis's voice came through the haze. Remember your heart, Lilana Maris. Let it guide you. Lena nodded, even though her eyes were closed. She let the memory flood her senses. Fear and wonder blended into a bright thread of hope. She felt a warmth in her chest, a kindness that reached back through time. The glow burst outward. For a moment, the pavilion filled with blinding light. Lena felt the ground tremble. She sensed the crystal core of Xyrilia far away, resonating with her memory. The fountain's water stilled. The vine's glow softened to a steady pulse. When Lena opened her eyes, Cervelis stood before her, tears shining on her cheeks. "You have done it," the princess whispered. Her violet eyes burned with joy and relief. "The crystal will heal." Lena felt tears too. She pressed her hand to her heart. Her childhood act of kindness had returned, stronger than ever. It had bridged stars. They stood together in the gentle light, human and princess, bound by the echo of a forgotten memory. The fate of two worlds had shifted in that silent circle beneath alien moons. Behind them, the pavilion doors remained closed. Diplomats waited outside, uncertain of what had happened. But Lena and Cervelis knew that the true meeting was complete. And as the light of compassion settled over them, the first step toward a new alliance took root, quietly, powerfully, and forever. Captain Lena Reyes stood on the observation deck of the Aurora's dawn, watching the violet gas giant Xyrelia drift into view. Even from orbit, the planet's beauty took her breath away. Bands of lavender storms swirled around its poles, and beneath them stretched continents of pale rose and silver-green forests. The ship's engines hummed softly as it slowed to match orbital velocity. Behind Lena, Princess Cervelis paced in quiet anticipation. The bioluminescent patterns on her gown glowed dimly in the deck's soft light. She paused beside Lena, eyes shining. "Soon," she whispered, "we will stand on our home world, and on its throne." Lena nodded, though her stomach knotted. She thought of the Chrysalis Council, still skeptical of humanity's motives. Even after the pavilion ritual, some Xyrillians doubted a human could save their world. Now, Lena must show them the true power of her compassion and of human ingenuity. Soft chime echoed through the deck. Lieutenant Anders, the ship's officer of the watch, approached with a reassuring smile. "Captain, we're in position. The Council's flagship Illuminaris awaits docking clearance." Cervelis's lips curved in a small smile. "Thank you, Lieutenant." She touched Lena's arm. "Are you ready?" Lena drew in a steadying breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." The docking bay of the Illuminaris was a grand chamber carved from pale crystal. Light from Xyrilia's twin suns poured through tall windows, casting prismatic patterns across the floor. Dozens of Xyrillian officials stood in silent rows, their silver skin gleaming. At the far end, the Chrysalis Council sat beneath a dais of living vines and crystal. Their stern faces regarded the human captain with cool curiosity. Lena stepped forward, her uniform crisp and her posture straight. Cervelis remained at her side, glowing like living starlight. The council's elder, matriarch Valana, rose, on slender legs. Her voice was clear and firm. "Captain Reyes," Valana began, "you stand in our sovereign hall. You have performed miracles on our orbital pavilion, yet the crystal core remains fragile. Why should we trust you further with the fate of Xyrelia?" Lena met Valana's eyes without flinching. She recalled the child she had been, the fearless girl who tended a wounded scout beneath the roses. She drew strength from that memory. "Matriarch Valana," Lena replied, her voice calm, "your world's healing needs two things: compassion that bridges hearts and science that bridges worlds. I offer you both." A murmur rippled through the council chambers. Valana gestured, and a platform of glowing crystal emerged at the room's center. At its heart lay a fragment of the Xyrillian core, a pale, cracked prism hovering above a pool of shimmering mist. Cervelis bowed her head. "This fragment suffers. It awaits the memory bridge ritual, guided by Captain Reyes." Valana raised an iris-rimmed hand. "Proceed then. Prove yourself." Lena advanced to the platform. She knelt beside the fragment and placed her palm on its cool surface. A familiar warmth spread up her arm, echoing the pavilion's light. She closed her eyes. In her mind, the pavilion's fountain reappeared. The carved symbols glowed beneath her fingertips. She breathed deeply, the memory of that hush settling into her bones. Around her, the chamber of the core seemed to fade, replaced by her grandmother's garden and the wounded scout she had named Maris. "Maris," she whispered, "I remember you." A gentle pulse of light surged from the crystal fragment. The platform's mist coalesced into shifting patterns of vines and petals. Lena opened her eyes to see the core's surface heal before her, cracks knitting closed as silver-blue light filled them. From the council's benches came soft gasps. The distant hum of the pavilion's trickling water echoed in the chamber, an auditory bridge between worlds. The vines around the dais quivered as though sensing the ritual's power. Lena rose. The core fragment shone with renewed radiance. Its healing waves pulsed outward, filling the chamber with gentle warmth. The mist receded and the crystal fragment floated steadily, whole and vibrant. Cervelis placed a hand on Lena's shoulder. "You have done more than any Xyrillian healer could," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Matriarch Valana's stern expression softened. She stood and approached the platform. The core fragment drifted toward her, and she nodded in solemn respect. "Human compassion is a force we have long underestimated," Valana said. "Captain Reyes, by your act you honor the ancient bond between our peoples." The council rose in unison, their voices lifting in a chorus of admiration. Lena felt tears prickle at her eyes. She bowed deeply to the council, then to Cervelis. For the first time they truly saw her, not just as a captain, but as a bridge between species. Later, in the private quarters of the Illuminaris, Cervelis and Lena stood by a great window overlooking Xyrilia's rose-tinged forests. The planet glowed like a living gem beneath them. Cervelis turned to Lena and offered a slender, crystalline goblet filled with honeyed nectar. "Drink," she said. "This is Xyrillian tradition after a successful bonding." Lena took the goblet and sipped. The sweetness spread through her, warm and familiar like home. She handed the goblet back and met Cervelis's gaze. "Thank you," she said simply. The princess's violet eyes glowed. "Thank you, Lalana Maris. You have given my people hope." Lena smiled. "We gave each other hope." Outside, the twin suns dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of lavender and gold. Xyrillian towers and human ships sailed side by side across the seas of clouds. The first peace flotilla prepared to descend to the planet's surface, carrying diplomats, scientists, and engineers eager to work together. Lena looked at Cervelis. "What comes next?" The princess's smile was tender. "Now we build our future, together." And so, beneath those pastel skies, human and princess made their plans. Xyrillian scholars would learn Earth's terraforming biotech. Human engineers would study the crystal networks that sustained Xyrilia's life. Artists, poets, and children from both worlds would journey between planets, sharing stories and laughter. But for tonight, they simply watched the dawn of a new era, a time when a child's forgotten kindness had reshaped two civilizations. And on that promise of unity, Xyrilia and Earth would write a future brighter than any star. The grand concourse of Chrysalis Orbital's starport gleamed like a field of diamonds under the light of distant suns. Tall crystal pillars rose in graceful arcs, and walkways of polished white stone connected docking bays filled with vessels of every shape. Humans and Xyrillians alike hurried through the flow of travelers, ambassadors, and envoys. At the center of the concourse, a vast circular platform had been cleared for the day's most important meeting, the Celestial Accord negotiations. Captain Lena Reyes stepped onto the platform beside Princess Cervelis. Lena wore her formal dress uniform, a deep navy jacket with silver trim, while Cervelis wore a gown of living light that shifted from emerald to gold with each of her soft breaths. A hush fell as the two led the procession to separate lecterns facing a semicircle of seated Xyrillian council members. Human delegates lined up behind Lena, ready for the talks. The chief negotiator, Councillor Talavi, rose from the dais. His silver skin caught the glow from the living vines behind him. "Representatives of Earth," he began in clear galactic common, "we welcome your bold offer of terraforming technology. But we must consider our own secrets. The star lanes of Xyrilia are the lifeblood of our civilization. Shall we risk opening them to humanity?" A murmur ran through the human delegation. Terran diplomats exchanged worried glances. Lena looked to Cervelis. The princess gave her a small nod. Together they raised their hands in respectful greeting. Lena stepped forward. "Counselor Talavi, members of the Chrysalis Council," she said, her voice steady. "We understand the gravity of this choice. We do not seek to exploit your star lanes. We seek partnership built on trust." She tapped a control on her lectern, and a clear holographic dome appeared above the platform. Inside floated a miniature biosphere, a tiny forest of sapling trees, sparkling streams, and tiny creatures that scuttled through undergrowth. Council members leaned forward, intrigued. Lena continued, "This is Earth's living tree technology. It can turn barren worlds into green havens. We offer to share this freely if you share safe passage through your star lanes." A tense silence followed. Counselor Talavi stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Your demonstration is impressive, Captain," he said. "But how can we be sure humans will not use this to colonize Xyrillian worlds without consent?" He looked at Cervelis, whose violet eyes shone with quiet confidence. Princess Cervelis stood and spoke. Her voice was soft but carried across the chamber. "I trust Captain Reyes. Her act of compassion saved my people once. Her honor guided the memory bridge ritual. I vouch for her promise." She raised her slender hand and touched the side of the holographic dome. The tiny trees glowed brighter for a moment. The council members exchanged looks. Some nodded, others remained cautious. Counselor Talavi spoke again. "Your Highness's word carries great weight, yet we require a formal guarantee, a binding clause in the Celestial Accord." He turned back to Lena. "Captain, can you provide such guarantee?" Lena inhaled and squared her shoulders. "Yes, Counselor. I propose this clause." She tapped her lectern and a new line of holographic text appeared beneath the dome. "Earth pledges to deploy living tree technology only to worlds that request terraforming aid, with full Xyrillian oversight at every stage." Lena smiled and met the Council's gaze. "This ensures that no world will be reshaped without its people's consent. Cyrilia will guide every mission." The chamber was silent for a heartbeat. Then Counselor Talavi slowly nodded. "A fair guarantee." He looked to the other members. One by one, the elders raised their voices in assent. The holographic dome dimmed and disappeared. Lena exhaled. The human delegation broke into quiet applause. Cervelis returned to Lena's side, her gown's light pulsing softly in delight. The chief scribe of the council floated forward, carrying a glowing scroll of crystal. He unrolled it at the center of the platform. The text shimmered in Xyrillian script, with a translation in Galactic Common underneath. Princess Cervelis and Captain Reyes dipped their hands together on the scroll. A warm glow spread through the concourse as the treaty bonded with living, magic drawn from both species' technologies. The vines behind the council dais stirred, and a soft chorus of voices rose in praise throughout the station. Just as the final lines of the accord appeared in brilliant light, an elder from the back of the chamber slipped away and approached Lena. He moved with surprising speed for his years. He pressed a small data pad into her gloved hand. Before anyone could notice, he whispered, "Read this in private. It concerns the chrysalis core." Then he vanished into the throng. Lena stared at the data pad's smooth surface. Heart pounding, she hid it beneath her cloak. The hush of triumph around her felt distant now. The Celestial Accord stood signed. Earth and Xyrilia would share technology and star lanes. Yet this hidden message hinted at a darker truth waiting to be revealed. Princess Cervelis linked her arm through Lena's. "You did it," she said, softly. "You secured our future." Lena offered a small, tense smile. "We secured our future," she corrected. Together they exited the chamber amid cheers and glowing crystal petals released by Xyrillian attendants. As they walked down the marble corridor toward Cervelis's private shuttle, Lena's thoughts raced. The datapad burned softly against her leg. What secret did it hold? If the chrysalis core was in danger, the people she had just promised to protect might need her more than ever. They reached the shuttle bay. A sleek vessel of rose-tinted metal waited under the soft hum of the docking field. Lena and Cervelis boarded in silence. The hatch closed with a whisper, and the engines flared to life. Outside the window, Chrysalis Orbital faded into the distance, its crystal towers gleaming as they disappeared from view. Inside, Lena retrieved the datapad. Its screen lit up, revealing the title, Doom of Chrysalis, Core Instability Report. Her breath caught. She met Cervelis's eyes. The princess nodded, her face set with quiet determination. The Celestial Accord had been won. But another challenge loomed, a hidden threat buried in the heart of Xerillia itself. And only by facing it together could human and alien secure the promise of unity they had just forged. As the shuttle sped toward the throne world below, Lena and Cervelis prepared for the next step in their shared destiny, to confront the coming crisis and prove that compassion and cooperation could triumph over any darkness. The shuttle touched down softly on the rose-tinted landing pad of Xerillia's capital city, Luminaris. Through its panoramic windows, Captain Lena Reyes and Princess Cervelis watched sculpted towers of crystal rise against twin sunsets. The sky was painted in shades of lavender and gold, and distant rivers of light flowed like ribbons through the air. But beneath that beauty lay an urgent shadow. The Core Instability Report Lena now held in her hand. They stepped onto the smooth plaza, where quiet crowds of Xerillian citizens and human engineers mingled. Both species greeted them with hopeful smiles, hope born of the newly signed Celestial Accord. Yet Lena felt the weight of the secret datapad pressing in her pocket. Cervelis led her through a grand archway into the crystal spire, the seat of Xerillian government. Its halls were lined with living vines that glowed softly, and silent crystal guardians stood sentry in every alcove. The air smelled faintly of ozone and flowering pollen. At the heart of the spire lay the core chamber, a vast dome carved from a single giant crystal. In its center floated the healed core fragment, now integrated into a larger prism at the floor's center. Engineers from Earth and Xerillia worked side by side, monitoring data streams and adjusting energy flows. The mood was hopeful, but tension hummed beneath the surface. A senior Xerillian engineer approached Lena. "Captain Reyes, Princess," she said with respectful bows. "We are ready to stabilize the core completely. Will you join us?" Lena nodded and produced the datapad. "Before we begin," she said quietly, "there's something you need to see." She opened the report and projected its contents onto a hollow screen that floated above the core. Lines of Xerillian code and technical readouts scrolled past, accompanied by warnings of deep-seated fractures in the planet's crystal lattice. Fractures, extending far beyond the repaired fragment. A hush fell. The engineer frowned, tapping at her datapad. "These readings, they show that the core's instability is systemic. If we do not act quickly, the energy flows that power our planet could collapse entirely." Cervelis stepped forward, her violet eyes fierce with concern. "How long do we have?" The engineer's shoulders sagged. "Perhaps 3 standard days. We can buy more time by focusing all energy on core reintegration. But without knowing the root cause, it may only delay the collapse." Lena exchanged a glance with Cervelis. The princess's calm resolve steadied her own racing heart. "Then we must uncover the cause," Lena said, "and we must do it now." They convened in the council's strategy room, a circular chamber, with a domed ceiling of living crystal that refracted light into dancing patterns on the floor. Xerillian elders, human scientists, and military advisors gathered around a central table. Their faces showed hope, tempered by fear. Matriarch Valana rose to speak. "You have given us new life," she said to Lena and Cervelis. "Now you must guide us through this trial." Lena took a deep breath. "We know the instability runs deep in the core's lattice, but we don't know what caused the fractures. We need to search for an ancient prophecy. I've heard rumors of a Xerillian tale that speaks of a dawning bond between souls that can heal the crystal wholly." An elder spoke up. "The prophecy is sealed in the Vault of Whispers beneath the old temple. No outsider has entered in centuries. Cervelis placed a comforting hand on Lena's arm. Then we will enter together. Her voice was steady. We must retrieve the prophecy's words. The council agreed. A small team formed. Lena, Cervelis, two Xyrillian archivists, and a human engineer named Dr. Ahmed. As they descended into the Vault of Whispers, torches of bioluminescent vines lit their path in soft green and blue hues. Echoes of dripping water and distant wind filled the tunnels. At the vault's heart stood a stone pedestal with an ancient codex bound in living crystal. Its pages glowed faintly. One archivist reverently touched the cover, causing the pages to open. Glyphs of light danced across the walls as the prophecy revealed itself. Dr. Ahmed read aloud in translation. When star-born hearts unite, the crystal song shall renew. Two souls, bound by sacrifice and trust, will rise beneath the twin moons and whisper the core to life anew. Lena's mind raced. Two souls, sacrifice and trust, twin moons. She turned to Cervelis. You and I must perform this ritual under the moons tonight. Cervelis nodded. We must speak the ancient words while our hands rest upon the core. That evening, Xyrilia's twin moons, Ophelia and Maris, climbed into the sky. On a balcony overlooking the core chamber, Lena and Cervelis prepared. The vaulted ceiling opened to the sky, and cool night air carried distant songs of celebration. Around them, human and Xyrillian spectators gathered in silent respect. Engineers paused their work, and council members stood at the back holding hands. The colony's hope rested on this moment. Princess Cervelis wore a ceremonial robe of shimmering crystal fibers, and Lena stood in her formal uniform, the datapad tucked safely away. The two women climbed the steps to the core's platform. Its surface glowed with the soft light of the day's repairs. Together, they placed a hand on either side of the central prism. The crowd watched as the moon's light filtered through the open dome, bathing Lena and Cervelis in pale silver and soft lavender light. Lena felt the crystal's hum against her fingertips, felt its lingering pain as deep currents of energy strained within it. She took a steadying breath, recalling every moment of compassion that had led her here, from the garden where she first helped the wounded scout, to the memory bridge ritual on the pavilion. Cervelis spoke the prophecy's first line in her lilting Xyrillian tongue. When star-born hearts unite, the crystal song shall renew. Lena repeated the words in English, her voice steady. Then Cervelis placed her free hand over Lena's heart. Lena did the same in return. They closed their eyes. The core's hum deepened into a low melody that echoed the prophecy's promise. Lena felt warmth bloom in her chest, linking her heart to Cervelis's through the touch of their hands. She let herself feel trust, solidarity, and the willingness to sacrifice her own safety and pride to save this world. Cervelis whispered the next line. Two souls bound by sacrifice and trust. Lena completed it. Will rise beneath the twin moons. Their voices intertwined, echoing across the chamber. As they spoke the final line and whispered the core to life anew, the twin moons' beams converged on the prism. The crystal glowed brighter and brighter until the entire chamber was filled with pure, radiant light. The ground trembled gently as energy waves rippled through the spire's supports. When their voices fell silent, Lena and Cervelis opened their eyes. The core stood healed beyond measure. The cracks had vanished, replaced by swirling veins of light that pulsed with harmony. The drone of energy harmonics sang like a choir of stars. A roar of cheers rose from the gathered crowd. Xyrillian and human engineers wept with joy. The vines behind the dais burst into blossom, showering crystal petals like a gentle snowfall. Lena felt Cervelis's hand squeeze hers. The princess's eyes shone with tears of relief and pride. We did this together, she whispered. Lena smiled through her own tears. Together, she agreed. In the days that followed, Xyrilia's transformation was swift and miraculous. The planet's energy fields stabilized, and new forests bloomed in silver-green light. Trade routes, opened along the star lanes, and human and Xyrillian vessels traveled side by side. Together they built a new era of peace, science, and art that bridged their worlds. On the anniversary of the Celestial Accord, a great celebration filled Luminaris. Statues of Lina Reyes and Cervelis stood hand in hand beneath dual arches, shaped like the twin moons. Children wore ribbons of silver and gold, and diplomats from both species signed new treaties of shared exploration. But the greatest monument was the Harmony Spire, built around the healed core. At its base, an inscription in both Xyrillian script and Galactic Common read, "Bound by trust, healed by compassion, we stand together under the twin moons." Lina and Cervella stood before the spire, their faces lit by its soft glow. The princess leaned close and whispered, "I will never forget your childhood name, Lilana Maris." Lina placed her hand over the inscription. "And I will never forget our bond, born of a single act of kindness and carried across the stars." Under the twin moon's gentle light, human and alien hearts beat as one. Their whispered destinies had become a living promise. That compassion, trust, and unity could heal not only crystals but entire worlds together.